So anyways, for those who are wondering, again, if in case you missed it, Rifkin is going to be back in a little bit. For now, he's sort of just dealing with the fact that he has his nurse. He has to go do a couple of other things, but he will be back a little bit later on. For now, we are going to be hopping into our next series, which is Cham versus MarineLorD. Now, just to give a bit of info about these two players, most people are going to be familiar with MarineLorD. Cham, on the other hand, is someone who I think fewer people will be as acquainted with. He is the Mexican Zerg player playing for Team Ordo Equitum, a team that has a lot of the Latin American players on it. He's won $15,000 in prize money over a lot of, I will say, a lot of online events and everything, but also that round of 8 finish that he had at the DreamHack Tours event. In terms of his Terran versus Zerg, well, that's going to be the important thing. Or I guess the Zerg versus Terran, I should say. It's not necessarily really his best matchup, sitting at around a 48% in recent times compared to his overall 60% win rate. MarineLorD definitely has a little bit of an edge in that regard coming into this, but I will say Cham has been doing quite well for himself, and these two players have never actually played against each other before. So I am interested to see where things are going to end up going. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like we are finally getting ready. We're hopping into it. New Gettysburg is going to be the map. And it looks like the players are ready. Let's do this. Game number 1 is starting right now. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the red Zerg player. Give it up for Team Ordo Equitum's Cham, who apparently has a famous dad, maybe? I'm not sure if that's a joke or what, but spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Terran player. Give it up for MarineLorD. I'm legitimately curious right now if Cham's dad is like like a famous boxer or something. Like, I know Tempo's older brother is a pretty well-known like MMA fighter and everything, but I have no idea. That'd be pretty cool. Regardless, TvZ gonna be our matchup for this particular series. And again, MarineLorD, I will say, we've mentioned this before, but a lot of the European players are playing on a bit of a disadvantage at DreamHack Montreal. And it's more so than the usual disadvantage of they had to travel and everything. It's the fact that a lot of them had to travel and they were supposed to be getting in, or they were supposed to be arriving in Montreal day before yesterday. But because, not because of like DreamHack's fault or anything, mostly just because of the airlines, they had their flights canceled. And they had to come the following day. So they had to spend a night at the airport, or, you know, stay in some hotel over there, come in on a flight yesterday, and finally arrive. Most of them are still time adjusting and trying to get their sleep schedule on point for DreamHack Montreal. And it's been a really, really rough day for them. Now, of course, some players like Wellmu have shown, you know what, it's not going to affect them. Even Thermal ended up winning his series 3-1 versus Cyril. Granted, both of those players still had the exact same problem, but still very, very cool to see that the players are not getting too phased by them. But MarineLorD is another one of those players that may have had to suffer from that, versus Cham, who just came in from Mexico. It's not really the longest journey for him, although it is still a bit of a journey. Alright, we do have a quick Reaper opening following up with, a second barracks over here. So it looks like we're going to be seeing a much faster stim coming out. This is a really nice pressure build that MarineLorD can throw out to try and put on the pressure, to try and keep Cham a little bit more on the defensive. And I think that's a wise decision. Cham is, again, one of those players that really likes to either cut a lot of corners or really hammer on the aggression on his opponent. One of the two, and he tries to get a good read. So going for the kind of middle of the road build is going to be a nice way to, and also just like not just a middle of the road build, an aggressive middle of the road build to put pressure and make sure your opponent's not playing too greedy. I think it's a really great way to deal with Cham's style. Cham, though, not going to be taking too much damage from the Reaper. The Reaper doesn't even make its way into the main base, so it's not really going to see a whole lot. The only real thing that it'd be looking for is whether or not there was any gas being mined at all. If there's even one drone on gas or 2-3 drones on gas, sometimes that can be a hint for a big 3-base all-in or something along those lines, but I'm not going to really even catch a glimpse of that. You can probably assume that Zergling Speed was coming on the way, but guess what? Because he doesn't move in over here, he doesn't actually see that the spawning pool never researched Zergling Speed. He's not getting it. He's cutting another corner over there in the sense that he's going straight up to the Roach Warren. Now, the Reaper is still alive, but it makes its way to that Zelnaga watchtower, so Not going to really get too much more information for a while. Could maybe try and move back in later, especially since there is no Zergling speed. But generally, at this point, Terran players are a bit more concerned of, hey, wait a second, Zergling speed should be finishing up right around now. And actually seeing that Zergling over there, ooh, I wonder if he knows now. Like, wait a second, my opponent just completely skipped Zergling speed. I'm probably not going to be up against the more Korean-oriented style of Ling Bling Muta or anything along those lines. Just because I say that just because there are a few players in the foreign scene that like to go for that more Korean-oriented style. And it's going to be with the more common North American and European style of Roach Ravager. Maybe moving later on into some of the other compositions. But for now, I think that's a really, really important information for MarineLorD to be scouting out. Now, one of the big things, though, that is always interesting to find out is when Cham is going to be throwing down those evolution chambers, what upgrades is he going to go for? There are players like Nurchio who like to play it out a much, much greedier style. He likes to go for the melee and the carapace upgrades. Most importantly, the melee upgrades. He makes roaches, but he goes for the melee upgrades. And the reason for this is he gets ready for the transition to Ultralists. Whereas a lot of other Zerg players out there, they play a little bit safer. They'll go for the range of weapon upgrades. They'll try and upgrade their roaches and their hydralisks, everything else that they're getting, as well as even maybe like lurkers or something if they decide to go for those. And that can be effective, but it does make your transition to the Ultralists that oftentimes end up coming out in this matchup a lot harder. MarineLorD has now finished up his stim. He's not starting up his combat shields just yet, though. I feel like that's, you know, he's got some of the resources for it. I feel like that's something he really should be focusing on some point. Hopefully he doesn't forget it. I don't think he'll forget it. I think he's just like delaying it a little bit, getting out another round of production, but does start up his 1-1 upgrades well before Cham actually gets up his second set of upgrades. 2 medevacs coming around, killing off 3 workers so far. Gonna move into that 3rd expansion, see what damage they can do. Not really a whole lot happening so far, but still just getting some of that free damage done. I mean, not that many Marines have really ended up losing their lives. Another stim goes forward, gonna be able to pick up the Queen and immediately just pick up, go back to the 3rd, maybe you can go back to the main base. Just abuse the immobility of Cham's units. And Cham doesn't have any Ravagers out. He's got a lot of roaches, 19 roaches. So you can split up those roaches between the different bases, but without the Ravagers, he really doesn't have a way of dealing with the medevacs. He even lost that queen over at that natural expansion, and that's going to make it even harder. He's lost 4 queens. Wait a second. Cham doesn't have any queens out on the map. He's lost every single one of them to this drop. He literally has 0 anti-air. He's making 3 more queens, but on top of that, he's also missing out on all of his larva injects. This is a huge problem for Cham right now. And behind this, MarineLorD gets to play very greedy. He gets to go for his 3rd. He doesn't have to worry about too much more. Granted, he doesn't actually have to do a whole lot to play greedy right now. He's already pumping out units, getting up combat shield, getting up 1-1 and everything. But Cham is seriously suffering a lot to just what was supposed to be a light bit of pressure from a couple of medevacs. Couple of roaches getting picked off over there, but finally MarineLorD does have to lift off and go home, or at least pull back a little bit. I don't know if he's gonna go home the entire way. Maybe just try to sit around with some of these Marines, clean up some of the creep, make his push later on a little bit more effective. And even the Reaper are gonna be very annoying over here at that 4th expansion. It should never kill this hatchery, of course, but it will at least get some vision on that, seeing that it has gone down. In the meanwhile, though, Cham is saying, well, I went for a very fast infestation pit. I'm going up for an incredibly fast hive. Gets out 2 infestors. No pathogen glands on those infestors, though. And there's going to be a really nice time where I feel like MarineLorD can hit right now. He's got 1-1 finished up, but he looks like he's going to wait around for 2-2. Once 2-2 finishes up, that's going to be a really nice time. But with Hive Tech already, what, 35 seconds underway, it's going to be another almost 90 to 100 seconds until 2-2 finishes up. And it takes about 2 minutes to get out chitinous plating with Ultralisk out after Hive Tech starts up. So there's going to be about a 100-ish second window where MarineLorD can hit and try and kill Cham before Ultralisk pop out. Cham has been focusing specifically on the carapace upgrades. As long as he defends against some of the early harassment and everything, he should be in a relatively okay position. The move out over here from MarineLorD is now going to be putting on some sort of pressure. Cham's gonna have to be a little bit worried about it, but he doesn't really have a lot of vision of it. For a Zerg player, Cham is very much in the dark. Does not have vision of the Zonlo Watchtower, doesn't have any vision outside of this creep spread, and barely even has vision of his opponent. Doesn't really have anything scouted in the main base or even over at that 3rd expansion. Finally, he's going to be able to get control of the Zen Lego Watchtower, but here we go. The push is coming in very early on from MarineLorD. He's hitting just before 2-2 finishes up. He's hoping that maybe he can delay this engagement from happening for at least another 15-20 seconds. If he can do that, he can just deny this 4th expansion. He's going to be hitting right before the Ultra's Cavern finishes up. No Kindness Plate is going to be on the way for a while, though. But the big engagement's already happening. And it's going to be before 2-2 is finished up for MarineLorD. It doesn't matter, though. Cham just does not have enough. GG is called. And MarineLorD taking game number 1.
The guy sat down just in time.
Yeah, welcome back, Rifkin.
Hello.
Hey, friend. How you doing, man?
I'm really sore, but I'm good. And
All
clean,
right.
more importantly.
Yay, showers.
Yay.
Okay, well, what you missed was basically MarineLorD putting the hurt on Cham. Like, he came, I would say a lot of that game came down to the fact that he did so much damage with the early medevac drop harassment. He killed off not just like a couple of drones, like 8-9 drones. That's okay. He killed off every single one of the queens that that Cham had. And that delayed the larva injects. It made it harder for him to deal with the medevac harassment, and basically he just got to do whatever he wanted behind it, get up his 2-2, get up stim, combat chills and everything, and went for the big push in. And Cham was playing pretty greedy, trying to get up to a fast Ultraless Cavern, just wasn't able to deal with it.
Yeah, that was gonna be my big question going into it, like whether Cham would be a player who played the more snoot, super queen, super ravager, or if it'd be more like Tilo and some others who have relied a little bit more on Ultralisks in past days.
Yeah, he definitely is one of the players that I think he varies it up. That's the thing about Cham, is that he's not a player that goes for like one particular build or style. He likes to try and take advantage of his opponent. Also, there was... Wait. So at the very beginning of that last game, I know you definitely didn't catch this. The very beginning of that last game, MarineLorD said, "I'm a huge fan of your dad, Cham." And Cham was like, "Yeah, I'm really proud of him." I'm getting word, someone's telling me they're completely serious. Cham's dad is a rich porn star.
Is this for real?
I'm not sure if that's real. Like, even though I'm being told I'm being serious, I don't know if that's real. But you know what? We're gonna leave that for a question for another time. We're hopping into King Sejong Station. We'll see you guys in a bit. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do just a quick friendly reminder, since I am afraid it'll come up in the chat. Pretty sure BaseTradeTV and just Twitch chat in general, not allowed to post links to porn, so please do not do so in the chat. You will get banned immediately. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. The red Zerg player. Give it up for Team Ordo Equidum's Cham, who I have the score wrong for.
You'll want to DM me on Twitter, though. My DMs are open.
So it's legal on
In the-
Twitter, I suppose.
In the bottom right, he is French, so maybe slightly empowered by the almost French Quebec that he's currently playing in. In the bottom right, playing for Millennium, it's going to be none other than MarineLorD. Now, MarineLorD, for a long time, was the Terran guy in Europe. He was fun because he had a personality. He was cocky, sometimes rude as fuck. Either way, he was great to watch for a lot of different reasons outside of just his good gameplay. Unfortunately, it did feel like after his ban for WCS, he lost some of the momentum, some of the passion. In more recent events, we've definitely seen him bring it back, regain it. He's looking better than he has in the past. But for me, Euthermal has really taken that spot of like #1 Terran, at least from what things we've been seeing. I would love for this to be a tournament where MarineLorD gets far enough to change the minds of not just myself, but perhaps others who are in the same mentality of having not lost faith in him, but, you know, having lost that same level of like, oh my God, #1 Terran.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I would say the one thing is, I think like the contention for who is the best Terran player in Europe right now is still up for debate. Just because, as you were saying, like, Euthermal's starting to make that ascension. I think there's a really, really strong case for him, especially having just won a tournament. But he's still kind of proving his consistency, his ability to be consistent. And so far, this tournament, he's doing a pretty awesome job. I don't know if you actually caught it, but it's currently a Euthermal ended up taking a 3-1 in that last series that he was playing earlier. So
Nice.
Doing pretty well.
We do have Cham on a note breaking down the rocks very early. Like this a lot. MarineLorD is certainly one of these guys who will abuse this spot if you give him the opportunity to. One of the things with that Reaper, though, is he's unfortunately not been back there to see that that's the case. So he has been jumping around the front. He's got to wonder, like, where are those lings at? Maybe assuming the rocks are being broken down. But if this is a build where he's going straight for those back rocks, he will not be happy with what he sees.
Yeah, but what's interesting is Cham is doing the same thing he did last game, which I know you didn't catch, but he's completely skipping Zergling's speed. And this is something that MarineLorD eventually caught wind of, but it wasn't something he immediately saw. This game, he maybe just be thinking like, oh, my opponent's just skipping Zerglings again, but he does make it past those backdoor rocks. He should have seen or heard that it was getting knocked down if he was paying attention, but he makes his way in the main base, gonna be able to potentially just do little bits of poking and prodding and seeing, okay, my opponent's actually still mining a gas. So there are gonna be some other things coming out like roaches. But we did have a 2 racks opening from MarineLorD, so talking about that early pressure that you can do with the fast stem.
Yeah, I mean, MarineLorD, what I like about him is he was also one of these players who adapted really quickly to that queen change where you can dance around with 2 medevacs where you couldn't with 1 thanks to that slight bit of extra range. I mean, remind everybody, queens have like 8 air range now. The ground range wasn't affected. A lot of people misunderstood that too, but that air range lets them chase off medevacs very, very easily. So whether he's planning to go for a drop, whether he's just building up a big bulky army, either way, what he is going to be coming up against is roaches. And if this is a lot of roaches into a lot of ravagers into that infestor mid game, I know Cham is good enough to pull off that style. The question is whether he's actually going to do that or not. As I'd asked you when I first sat back down, like, was he going to go for that style or was he going to go for more for Ultralisks? I mean, it's not to say that you're pigeonholed by as a player into one or two of those strategies, but really it is pretty much dedicating one way or the other.
Yeah, he did really try and make the Roach Ravager defense work out early on, but yeah, his upgrades were going toward mostly just like focus on Carapace upgrades while you try and slowly tech up to like Ultralisk, but going for the range upgrades also, eventually after you finish up +1. So he also seemed like that was another interesting thing about last game is he didn't go for like the double evolution chamber play that a lot of Zerg players tend to favor these days. He likes to stay on the single evolution chamber, but oh, here we go. Big Marine pushing over here in the natural expansion, killing off a couple of workers, but actually no, not killing off any workers. Really nice pullback from Cham.
Queen.
Yeah.
The corpses on the mineral lines were deceptive, I'll give you that much.
Yeah.
+1 and combat shields should time out pretty well together. If it is just roaches, funny enough, like lots of stim marines can take them on not too poorly. The problem is, though, if Cham starts making half of these into Ravagers here and there, and then he doesn't have that proper Roach support for the Marines, that's when it gets a little bit dangerous. But he is keeping a lot of these as just Roaches for the time being. You know, speed is layers only just finishing up, but still should, as long as he pre-positions, be able to take on these drops. And we saw him do just that. Expecting the drop on the main, MarineLorD went to the main, driven back. Nice defense out of Cham, and good control out of MarineLorD not to dedicate too much.
Ooh, Cham's getting very aggressive with these roaches, moving out, down, and trying to hunt down that drop. Of course, MarineLorD can easily pick up, but just making sure that he's paying attention. Trying to kill off any Marines that he can. But it is going to be the range upgrade this game, so he's not going to be going straight up to the Carapace upgrade, which does prepare you significantly better for the Ultras transition if you go for the Carapace upgrades first, just because you start off that upgrade, you can get +2 much quicker, you can get +3 much quicker. And the Ultralists, even when they don't have Chitinous Plating, they're at least a little bit tankier. They can take a slightly better engagement, although not great. But oh, the Roach is highly outnumbered over here, especially with the tanks coming into the mix. And this is going to be a really dangerous position over here for Cham. This might just end the game potentially.
It probably should. I mean, let's keep in mind he's fighting outside of the siege shanks. If he would just bring those tanks to the front line, this would be even worse. But that +1 on the Marines just creates so much damage. Oh, the Medivacs fly right into the corrosive bios, though. That might just be Cham's chance to start coming back into this. The bio still has to be dealt with, but there's a lot of roaches about to spawn. Problem is now the tanks are finally involved with the fight. Well, there's not a lot of medevacs or bio left to protect them. There's a rally of units coming from the back end, and it might be just enough.
Oh, the Ravagers need an opportunity to get close enough to the tanks to start firing down corrosive biles on them, at least forcing the pickups. But
this is where you really want lings with speed. I don't have a problem with Cham's style, but it is a weakness presented with it.
Yeah.
You can't get on top of those tanks. You've got no way to cause the fire to go haywire. He's just microing the medevacs back with the tanks because there's nothing to stop them.
And none of the siege tanks end up dying. GG gets called. MarineLorD walks away with game number 2 One game
Good.
away from moving on.
At this rate, this might be the only series we've cast and will cast all day today that goes in a direction that is to be expected, so to speak.
Yeah, no kidding. But, you know, I still have some faith in Cham that he will be able to maybe do a little bit better in the series. It's not just going to be a 3-0. But I've got to say, like, the way that this series is going, the fact that Cham went for a fairly slight deviations or slight differences from the first game, but for the most part, very, very similar opening. I feel like he's got to do some kind of really big changes, like going for Zergling speed. That, as you said, like, that's a big weakness. And that could be one of the big changes he needs to make. He has to start thinking about the changes, because I don't think that MarineLorD has to change anything. Like, he's doing fine. Just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep doing it.
So one of the interesting aspects of this is, first off, I love that this is going faster than normal. Again, you and I know, sat here last night going like, oh boy, 12 hours of DreamHack, 8 hours of downtime. I gotta give some credit where it's due, because we do complain quite a bit when casting these things. They've done a great job minimizing the downtime this DreamHack.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first DreamHack in like 3 years they've done it like this. I'm really happy, and I hope you guys as the fans are enjoying it. So I would really not even suggest, I would ask as a favor, if you're enjoying the lack of downtime, tweet at DreamHack and let them know. Make sure they're aware that this is a much more awesome way to go about things, because sitting here for 45 minutes between each series would be just the worst.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Of course, again, if you guys do want to know what all the what are the games that are going to be broadcasted on this particular stream, I am tossing a link out in the chat right now that should send you over to the schedule. Now, again, as noted, don't pay too much attention to the time specifically, just because we are going through these games much faster than those times are suggesting. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Frost is going to be the next map, potentially the last map for this series. We'll see who takes it. See you there. Okay, here we are in game number 3, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to be spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map of the man who is down 0-2, one game away from defeat and being knocked out of the event. Give it up for the red Zerg player from Ordo Equidem, it's Cham.
And his opponent, rocking and rolling in the series as expected, playing for Millennium, it's going to be the blue Terran MarineLorD. MarineLorD is really, again, perhaps outclassed his opponent here. Maybe it's not what you would expect. Either way, I know at the end of the day, this is a guy I want to see in the finals. No offense to Cham. It's somebody where if he does eventually get to the finals, it'd be a huge breakthrough. It'd be really awesome. Great underdog story, etc., etc. But MarineLorD's been working at this all year, and he's working off the back end of having been banned and having all his points reset and lost. And keep in mind, whoever wins, I think, a WCS Summer Championship is directly seeded into BlizzCon, right?
Yeah, the winner of this just goes to BlizzCon. Doesn't matter how many points you have.
So there's almost a more necessity from MarineLorD, a player who worked really hard halfway through, got caught doing something that's not so ethical, had his points completely reset, and has had to start again from zero. Like, he has to win this. Like, not this game, but this whole tournament.
Yeah. Super important for him. And do you want
I
to give
think, by the way, that would be the craziest story of who gets to BlizzCon if MarineLorD was one of the people who did. Big shout outs go to Zero User for the new sub hype, and Riamar donated, what, $50? And he said hi with a question mark. Not quite hello, but hi.
Hi.
Hello?
Just to really quickly talk about Cham, though, like, it was something that happened during the map intro, so you guys didn't quite catch it, but I think he really is feeling the nerves right now. He's going to be dealing with the Reaper harassment. He's not going for Zergling speed once again in this game, although he does have 100 gas mined and has stopped mining gas, so I'm wondering what he's going to be doing with that. I guess it's like preemptively getting enough ready for Zergling speed in case he needs it, but earlier on, like during the map intro, he like attacked his own drone. Like, he pulled one of his drones off. He was trying to like mineral stocks, attacked his own drone. Just goes to show he's really not feeling super confident. He's making small little mistakes. He's feeling the jitters. He's feeling the, I guess, the nerves right now.
I mean, I don't know. I think for a lot of these guys, unfortunately, we talk about skill in terms of like gameplay, but we can't discount the fact that you've got MarineLorD who's been to pretty much every live event. He's played on every stage possible. Cham has not had that same opportunity. He's not had that same level of experience. It's actually the one thing a lot of people harp on Neeb for, despite being such a great player, not a lot of live experience, and it's been showing through some of these events. Somebody like Cham, maybe a LAN or two, I doubt he's been on anything as major as a DreamHack. Even if it's not the main stage and he's on the B stream with us here, it's still being at such a big event.
Absolutely. Reaper still being very
I wish people there would start, if anyone is watching, for whatever reason, you're watching from your phone and you're at DreamHack, take some pictures of the venue and tweet them at us. I want to see what the place looks like. I've got no freaking clue.
Yeah. Man, I am really surprised. Cham is just playing ultra defensive right now and ultra safe. He's getting the sport calls. He hasn't seen anything of his opponent, because guess what? When there's a Reaper out and you don't have Zergling's speed, you can't actually easily send Zerglings across the map to even scout the front. His Overlords, unfortunately, were not able to get to his opponent's side of the map very early on, so he just is completely playing in the dark right now, and he had to get ridiculous. Like, look at the timing of these spore crawlers. These could have been made maybe like 15, 20 seconds from now. They were made like a minute or two ago. And that does cut into his economy a little bit, having those drones being turned into spore crawlers like much earlier on. Yeah, I just feel like Cham is not necessarily like playing at his A game. Not necessarily saying that his A game would be enough for MarineLorD, but it just feels like MarineLorD not only has the momentum going in his favor, but he's also just got Cham on the back foot. Cham needs to find some way to turn the series around, and this has got to be the game. Like, there are no other opportunities for it.
I do think, though, that, I mean, I missed game one. Maybe it was a little bit closer than game two was, but I don't know, MarineLorD does nothing cheesy, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
He just plays straight up and wins that last game, and it looked really good and convincing. The lack of Zergling speed was something a bit odd, and he's done it once again, and I can't say I'm a fan of this. I can understand if it's getting you to your lair faster, which it wasn't. I can understand if it gets you more roaches out because you want them super defensively, but the amount of roaches Cham had last game was bountiful, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, and even this
I
game,
I don't like the idea of cutting Lings out entirely.
the thing that I really don't like about it is the fact that he sits on 100 gas and he stops mining gas, but he doesn't throw down an earlier roach horn. He doesn't. It feels like he's getting 100 gas preemptively in preparation for Zergling speed, and it's like, at that point, why don't you just start the research for it? Because I don't feel like there's any other advantage to getting the gas mined but not using it for another minute or two.
Yeah. I am of the same disposition.
All right, well, third expansion coming down over here from MarineLorD. And Cham will catch wind of it if he moves that Overlord slightly further forward. But for now, I guess he's just busy dealing the medevac drop harassment. That's still going on because MarineLorD's doing a nice job of keeping it alive. He's even cleaning up a lot of the active creep tumors, doing damage here and there, just keeping Cham on the defensive and forcing out a lot of these roaches. And I will note also, Cham was pretty slow to make some of the Ravagers in some of the previous games. He does have them out a little bit earlier on this game, so he can actually have some of that anti-air defense without just the queens. MarineLorD already finished up with 1-1 though, and Cham is starting to finish up +1 ranged attack, still sitting on that single evolution chamber style. And I can kind of understand why. When you have this many roaches being made, you kind of need all the gas you can get. And you don't really have the extra gas to afford on getting carapace upgrades and everything. But I really do feel like it sets him a little bit further behind, like going for the range upgrades. He's really relying on taking a very good engagement. Oh god. These drops are still just like pulling him back. He clearly wants to move out across the map right now, but he can't.
Yeah. Medevac's in a bit of an awkward spot. But okay, this is where army supply heavily favors Cham, and we'll see if that brute force approach to this is going to be enough to overcome tanks. I mean, it's daunting to look at and see 120-ish Zerg supply to 64-ish Terran supply, but at the end of the day, siege tanks should be better in every regard. There's no fungal growths to keep the medevacs in place. He should be able to dance around all these corrosive battles. Drop of the main goes off while this goes on, picks up. So MarineLorD not going to get too much done over here. The roaches do a great job of thwarting that off. But this third base from MarineLorD now going to be under attack. And once again, these siege tanks could make a world of difference.
Got to be well controlled over here though, and the Bioforce is definitely not going to be enough to take on these roaches. They are there to just buy time, keep this roach count from getting on top of the siege tanks. Siege tanks being microed back up and well controlled, but loses one of the siege tanks inside the medevacs. That's a big deal, but I think he's going to be able to hold with the 1-1 upgrades.
Yeah, this is the problem. You look at roaches in supply. They're daunting, but they're also not supply efficient. So You've got double your army supply compared to your opponent, but it's inefficient units. I mean, the one thing is MarineLorD actually handled that pretty poorly when it came to tank control, and still look how well that was defended, right?
Yeah, ended up losing some of the siege tanks inside of the medevacs. Actually, I think he had like 3-4 siege tanks, so it comes out at the end with one of them. Now, granted,
Cham was also aiming a lot of his Corsair battles at the bio instead of the tanks. I mean, there's a lot of things players made mistakes for in that fight, but we'll see if MarineLorD can hold once again. 1-1 being the upgrades. He's almost at 2-2. Like, he's so close to having such a huge upgrade lead.
Yeah. Ooh, getting some of the Corsair battles to connect over there. Oh, getting a lot of the Corsair battles to connect over here. Cham is not done just yet.
He's juking and jabbing too hard.
Yeah. I also want to note, like, during that engagement, yeah, it's not a big deal, but oh, do not clump up those SCVs too much. I was going to say, MarineLorD did pull a lot of his workers earlier on to try and make that good engagement work last time. So he did end up losing 14, 15 workers before.
I didn't realize that 27 SCVs were bulked up like that, by the way.
Oh,
so
yeah.
bad. It's only a couple of tanks. Liberator going to siege up and try and help out a little bit, but siege tanks and Liberators are easily dealt with corrosive biles. The Ravagers should really win out, but as we see, the herd is being thinned. Tank on the high ground goes down. One tank remains to the backside. Not a lot of bio left for this. Most of the roaches are gone, however, and we all know that Ravagers, as good as they are, they don't have a lot of health, and they go down very easily if there's no roaches to buffer for them. But MarineLorD's down to 43 supply. He's on 2-2 for upgrades, which isn't too bad, but this is still a bad situation for him. Those Corsair battles trying to catch CB. They barely escape.
Almost getting them so close, and that would have been a huge deal. It looks like there was a little bit of damage happening on the other side of the map. I don't know if it was a drop or something, but 3 workers killed, not a huge deal. So far, MarineLorD is still managing to hold. Even if he's taken a lot of losses, he's had to lift off his 3rd command center. It's still alive, and Cham is stuck on just Roach Ravager. He still doesn't have any sort of tech transition, and he's finally starting up some of those other upgrades, but he's fallen behind on those upgrades by a good bit. With 2-2 and +1 mech finished up for MarineLorD.
He's with a +2 weapon, so it won't be super devastating, but the armor's the bigger aspect, obviously. The command center tries to go to another base. Not going to happen. Cham camping that one out. MarineLorD can't do much about this, though. He doesn't have enough supply to actually lift a medevac full of units and take it across the map, nor does he have enough supply to really break Cham in a head-on engagement. He will take a fight, though, as Cham has split his forces in 2. He was hoping to come from a pincer side of the swipe of an attack. It doesn't happen. And MarineLorD, he takes out that first part of the fight. Now there's only one set of Roaches and Ravagers left he has to fight. These tanks can be microed around for quite some time, and looks like with what little he has, he will hold on once again.
Yeah, looks like he is able to hold on. There was a Liberator killing off a couple more workers over at that 3rd expansion. Able to kill off, I think, 5 or 6 workers, but Cham doing a lot more damage.
I don't think he killed any. I think he just pulled them. They would show up on the workers killed in the bottom.
No, they showed up on the workers killed. Liberator has 10 kills.
You're right, my bad. 2 more going down over here. It must have just disappeared as you started singing.
It was like right after, it was right after I brought it up.
So a couple more kills, gets driven off by the Spore Crawler for the first time he gets something across the map, but the supplies are starting to even up. They're starting to look a little bit better. As you mentioned, like, okay, he is behind on tech overall in terms of no hive, no +3 on the way, but he is on 2-2. He is sticking with Roaches and Ravagers. He's going for Burrow and Tunneling Claws. This is something really annoying for players who use a lot of siege tanks like MarineLorD is currently doing.
Oh, and he's got a lot of Roaches and Ravagers to actually make use of this. Oh, SCV's transferring. Gotta pull those back.
I love this double bluff with the main command center, by the way. So he takes his 3rd command center to the 3rd. He was going to send that other one to like a 5th location instead of the 4th, but it comes back home. So both these bases being taken simultaneously.
One of them will go up.
One of them.
All right, well,
you see some nice shots on top of the Roaches before the fight even begins. Ravagers coming for the south side, but they're going to pick off a tank. Nope, it gets saved through the grace of that medevac. And the bio, unfortunately,
Cham
thinned out a little too much. Still, the tanks are the powerhouse here, and the tanks drive this back.
Oh, that was a really questionable engagement for Cham to go up against the siege tanks that were siege up on the cliff over there. There's no way he was going to get close enough with his... He should have at least waited for Burrow or something, but I don't know why he tries to push the engagement right before his upgrade's finished.
He really, I think, wants to shut down that 3rd base. Under attack now once again, does force a liftoff, but MarineLorD did take that northern base and did transfer SCVs up there. So both players have no main and no natural mining, and both players are in a pretty crappy economy. I don't know why I said that like that. But at the end of the day, what I really like was this investment in Burrow. It allows him to heal up the Roaches. He's got a little bit of sneak attack possibilities now.
He tried to land the orbital, but it didn't land because the Roaches are there. Was that... Does he realize it? Does he realize that was the case?
He may have just thought he misclicked. Ah, no, he saw the roaches tunneling through the ground, lands the CC, gets a scan. His mining base under attack.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He's
There's
engaging.
5 siege tanks, but they can't do anything if they can't see what they want to shoot.
Yeah, he's engaging versus the Marines whenever the siege tanks are loaded up in the medevac, so he's avoiding a lot of the siege tanks fire.
He's out of money. He doesn't have income. He needs to get one of these bases going.
Oh my god, and at the same time, Cham actually does have a 3rd and 4th expansion mining right now. They've been going mostly uninterrupted ever since that Liberator got cleaned up.
Consider this as well. With how bad his economy is, normally a Terran player would love to have 4 CCs dropping mules. Instead, he's barely got 3, one's burning and almost dead, and he needs scans. He can't afford to scan.
Rifkin, even if he had somehow the actual bases landed and somehow safe, he's down to 10 workers. Mules or not, like, this is a huge problem.
This is an absolutely huge problem, but the problem for Cham is he is left with roaches. There's no Ravagers. Marines take this on pretty decently. The tanks shell out the ones on the north side. There's turrets down. MarineLorD, as we can see, is winning out through medevac control here. But as you pointed out, no workers, no mining. This just gets worse and worse. Cham can trade away his roaches poorly for the rest of the game if MarineLorD's never mining anything. When you can't even afford to replace that one Marine, that's when things are in dire straits.
And every single one of these scans is so painful. I mean, roaches supply inefficient or not, when you're up 100 supply, look, it means something. It really does mean something.
But that's the thing, it actually doesn't until that infestation pit's done. Until infestors are in play or that hive tech comes out, the roaches don't mean a hell of a lot. We've seen 5 tanks hold the line. This is like the Spartans of 300 holding the hot gates, you know? Like, nothing is breaking this. MarineLorD has been constantly been attacked with double and triple the supply, and still he hasn't lost the game yet.
Yeah, looks like a drop on the other side of the map. MarineLorD just trying to equalize or shut down some of the mining for Cham. But he's gonna get cleaned up by some of these roaches.
He just lost one of his tanks. He can't afford to replace even so much as one tank going down at this point. Attacking his own command center. Okay.
Don't go full MMA on us. GG. Cham, I mean, he has to fight for it, but he puts his name on the scoreboard. 1-2.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. That's a game that's so frustrating to watch too, because that's almost the equivalent of watching the Protoss game with the Adepts earlier. It was just roaches. It was just roaches and Ravagers, and there wasn't a lot of finesse. It was just this point where he did manage to brute force. Like he literally won that game through brute force. And to that I say, good job. You needed the victory, but secondly, like, that worries me. I don't think that works for 2 more games in a row.
Yeah, that's one of those games that I'm sure after it, MarineLorD's thinking like, man, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not gonna make those mistakes again like this next game. I've like had time where I've finally been able to like sit back and relax for like 10 seconds without being attacked by roaches and having to micro my Marines or siege tanks back from Ravager shots. Like, I know what I did wrong. I have had my moment to calm down. And well, he puts his name on the board, but like, let's see if he mixes anything else up. My biggest fear again is that he's gonna do something like he's gonna skip Zergling speed again. And at this point, like, forget about just the fact that it's not been going super well for him to do so. I'm afraid that MarineLorD's gonna actually just like try and actively punish the fact that he's been skipping Zergling speed, because we're moving on to Frozen Temple, and can you imagine a Zerg player doesn't get Zergling speed, doesn't even get up a super fast roach rate, and you have like a lot of Reapers moving in, just relying on Queens to defend and not throwing down the roach one until like the 3rd Reaper shows up? That could be a really scary spot if there's a 3 Rex Reaper. But I guess we'll find out in a second as we hop onto Frozen Temple. We'll see you guys there. Here we are in game number 4, spawning on top of the top left-hand player, the red Zerg player, who's finally able to take a game after gritting his teeth and finally being able to do it. Can he do it again? Give it up for Ordo Equidum's Cham.
And to the bottom right, it's going to be none other than the ever-vigilant Blue Terran MarineLorD. I'm really sad with the way the game ended. I mean, first of all, I'm really happy Cham could take a game. It's great to not see a 3-0. Even if you're cheering for MarineLorD and you hate Zerg, it's still nice to not see a 3-0. But I gotta say, I'm not sold on his playstyles yet. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, but MarineLorD really shouldn't fall to that bully tactic again. It is so weird to see somebody win that game through perseverance, I guess we'll call it, more than even the roaches.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times can you be up literally double the army supply, lose that fight, and not quit the game. Cham did it 5 times in that last game.
It was an interesting last game. I will say though that we do have a 3 racks coming out right now for MarineLorD. Has 1 barracks on the low ground, maybe even just hoping to make it look like he's expanding, just for even a little bit longer while the Overlord moves down over there. It's like, oh yeah, Steffi, you're natural. Like, yeah, things look okay, but eventually he's gonna end up realizing what's coming at him. But Cham did go for a spawning pool first, and this is widely considered like one of the first steps that you need to take to deal with a 3 racks Reaper. Ooh, he's almost like blindly going for a super fast Roach Warren.
This is really funny for me to see too, because MarineLorD, I think, is doing this just A, it's Frozen Temple, it's a great map for it, but B, because he wants to kill Cham early. And frustratingly enough, Cham has done only the same thing consistently over and over and over again, and all of those things involve roaches, and all of those things involve things Reapers aren't necessarily going to fare well against.
Yeah.
But oh, these Zerglings on the other side of the map, while they weren't able to kill the depot, they got the scout and the confirmation that 2 more Reapers were made. That means now Cham should be aware this is 3 racks Reaper. And the question isn't like, will he make roaches? He will make roaches. It's will he make Ravagers quickly with those roaches or not? The sooner you can even get a single Reaper kill, the sooner you shut this down. This is such a strange composition from Terran because it snowballs really hard one way, but also falls apart really easily the other.
Yeah. Queen is going to be sniped off over here. The Reaper's already doing a lot of damage, but here come the roaches. Roach is going to be able to add in a lot. And as you were saying, like, it's not just about the fact that the Ravagers do extra damage or anything. It's the range that they give. They get more of those guaranteed shots off on those Reapers, as well as the faster attack speed. So it's going to be really, really important to get 1 or 2 of them up. He does catch one of the Reapers with 1 Roach on the high ground. He can do that for now, but whoa, whoa, whoa. Cham is droning up right now. Is that really okay to do?
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, given the present situation, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you see the command center actually coming down? Like, the double CC expansion behind this is huge. He didn't see either of them. So this is almost like him calling MarineLorD's bluff.
Yeah.
Because if MarineLorD had not, instead, like actually just paused rallying instead of stopped making units, this would be the worst choice Cham could have made. But he's holding this not too badly. The Reapers are finding it hard. The Roaches aren't taking the bait. The worst thing you can do is chase into the Reapers because they'll just grenade kite you down all day. But MarineLorD's got Stim on the way. The double CC follow-up will catch him up and put him ahead, frankly. And we'll see how this turns out. This is actually, it should be better for MarineLorD in every way. Despite the fact that the Reaper opener didn't win the game, he should still be better off for it.
Well, Cham's still doing a pretty nice job, honestly, of like dealing with this. Yeah, he's lost a queen, and he might end up losing a second queen if he's not careful over here, maybe even taking some damage on some of those roaches. But for the most part, he really hasn't died to it. He hasn't taken like significant losses to it. Of course, it's also worth mentioning that he did go for a very, very safe opening. One of the fastest Roach Warrens you can get up, going for a spawn pool first and everything. That also sets him behind, so he kind of has to have this kind of defense to make it all worth it. Oh, Reapers might find an opportunity to move in over here. They zone out those Roach with the grenades, but you know, more reinforcements coming in.
Yeah, that would actually not be a good choice. As much as the opening looks appealing, you just get sandwiched in afterwards. And the biggest thing about these Reapers is even though he can't stop an attack with them, he can significantly delay a push by constantly throwing grenades and making Cham do like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Absolutely.
Back at home, though, I mean, I mentioned the stim production earlier. Marauders came out pretty quickly as well. The tanks will be out sooner than later. I think he's going to prioritize medevacs, which is a good choice. Roaches, while they do quite a bit of damage, it's like 18 a shot, they can't really burst through medevacs. They just heal too well through the Roach attacks.
Every single Reaper grenade used, trying to do a lot of damage to this third, and oh my god, I think Cham is just, you know, in a weird way, this third is actually like the dummy attraction. All of the Reapers are over here. Oh, he needs to cancel. Okay, he does cancel it, but it allows the entire army to get across the map without being Reaper grenaded to death. And that's going to give an opportunity to make this all-in work.
No damage done, no tactics stalled. Combat shield's going to be delayed. Thank God he finished Stim, because that wouldn't get a chance. He's going to pull SCVs into this, but the Bioforce should be big enough to kill this. I mean, this is Marines with, this should be a slaughter.
Oh, Corrosive Bile's doing a lot of damage. If there were reinforcements coming sooner, I think something could happen. Oh boy, I'm getting lag.
Oh, no. DreamHack again.
DreamHack!
Oh no. What is going on at the venue?
Okay, I'm not gonna call this game, but I will say, if Cham can bring this back, it would be one of the most impressive comebacks that we've seen. This is not a place where he's supposed to be able to bounce back from.
You don't come back off this. Like, even though he's key workers, there's 3 CCs behind it. Like, we're gonna recover the game, but the game's just gonna end moments later.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if Cham himself just kind of accepts and says, like, look, it's over. Although I also wouldn't hate him, or like I wouldn't fault him for saying, you know what, this is the last game. Like, if there's even like a 0.001% chance I can bring this back because MarineLorD makes a mistake, I'm damn well gonna take it because I got nothing to lose. I'm stuck here anyways for a couple days.
Well, this screen might be not too unfamiliar in a few minutes. This took quite a bit of time to resolve last time, so let's quickly discuss what's going to happen. They're going to take a few minutes. They got to reboot all the stuff at the venue, whatever's going on over there. Then they've got to recover the game in a very awkward way. They have to have players walk away from their PCs, and it's just all kinds of question marks. So guys, we're going to go to a small commercial break while we hope the DreamHack does not take too long to resolve this, and we'll see you very shortly.